To be a little bit more clear, when you take a look at the Quran, you will see certain passages like Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 256, which says, La ikraha fi din, there is no compulsion in religion. And Muslims will quote this and they will say, look, it says there's no compulsion in religion. Obviously, it's peaceful. But the Quran also has verses, like in chapter 9, verse 5, slay the infidel wherever you find them. Lay siege to them and take them captive. Chapter 9, verse 29 says, fight the Jews and Christians until they pay the tax and feel humiliated. Chapter 9, verse 111 says, Allah has bought your life and your property for this, that you may slay in battle and be slain. Or how about in Mark chapter 13, when he says, no one knows when the end of times is, neither the angels nor the Son, but only the Father. Betsy, it's pretty clear. He says he doesn't know when the end of times is. Only God knows when the end of times is. How could he possibly be God if he says he doesn't know when the end of times is? Only God knows. I said, but you quoted the book of John. If you want to quote the Gospel of John, how about you quote that verse where Jesus says, the Father is greater than I. And as I'm looking at her with each Bible verse I'm quoting, I've realized she hasn't looked at any of this before. And so I said, Betsy, if you want to know who Jesus is, ask me about Islam, and I'll share the real Jesus with you. And so in this moment of someone, the only person, by the way, who ever shared the gospel with me in high school, I took around her attempt to share the gospel and made it into my own da'wah. I invited her to Islam through her attempt to share the gospel with me.
The Quran and the Bible are not the same book, but a lot of times we come to them exegetically as if they were. Muslims and Christians will come to the Quran exegeting them as if they were their own book, or they'll come to the Bible exegeting it as if it was the Quran. This is a problem. The Quran was not written like the Bible. How was it written? Muhammad would receive a revelation, or so the Islamic sources say, about 5 verses at a time, generally speaking, according to the Hadith. He would relay to his scribes. The scribes would write them down. And that was one recitation. And later again, and later again, later again, and then at the end, and sometimes it'd be longer, at the end all of them were collected when he died. So it's very possible that one section of the Quran, one verse, has very little to do with the next verse, at least at face value. That's why you have the whole series of hadith called Asbab an-Nuzul, which I'm sure you're familiar with. The hadith that say, this is when this verse of the Quran came, this is what it means. This is when this verse of the Quran came, this is what it means. And so you need the hadith to exegete the Quran, because one verse does not necessarily relate to the next. Bible's not like that.